Grand Theft Auto is one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. I've played this game series a lot growing up and more so as an adult. Growing up, my mother was very strict on the types of games I would play. It was even tough for me to be able to play any rated T video games depending on what they were. So even though I was able to get Freddy vs. Jason as a Christmas present, my mother wouldn't dare see me playing any rated M video games. It was a rather odd childhood I had. But because of that, I missed out on the craze that was San Andreas when it was released back in 2004. Whenever I got to have sleepovers at a friend's house when my parents weren't around was when I was able to get some time to screw around in games like Vice City. It wasn't until later in life when I got a PlayStation 3 and bought GTA 4 was when I really dived into the world of Grand Theft Auto. As I grew older, I was able to finally get my hands on these games, but when that happened, so much time had gone by that my interest in playing those games dwindled dramatically. Also considering bigger and newer games came out that caught my interest over going back to lost time. The only time I actually sat down and played San Andreas was when I got a laptop in high school. The laptop was so bad at the time, but was just powerful enough to handle San Andreas. When I played the game, however, all I ever did was mod the hell out of it and I barely got through the story. And this was well over 10 years ago now by this point. So for me, this game doesn't provide me with that much needed nostalgia compared to most other video games I played. It's been a while since I made a video game review and I wanted to come back with a big game to talk about, and I had friends before ask me to review this one. So this is going to be my official review of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. San Andreas was released back in 2004, just 2 years after the popular Vice City. Can you imagine how great that must be, only having to wait 2 years for the next entry, considering we are going on almost 10 years now without a damn peep from Rockstar and GTA 6, only that it's in development? But moving on. San Andreas was released for Xbox, PC, and became the best-selling video game on the PlayStation 2. You are watching footage from the PC version. San Andreas takes place in 1992 in Rockstar's interpretation of California, Los Santos being Los Angeles, San Fierro being San Francisco, and Las Venturas being Las Vegas. Three rather decently sized cities that consist of the overall map for the state of San Andreas. There is also a forest area in the southwest portion of the map that also has Mount Chiliad where you can explore and jump off of with a bike. At the time of this game's release, this was one of the biggest maps in video games at the time. Ever since then, it has been dwarfed by other video games, but this at the time was something special. Also considering that a lot of big maps these days feel empty, while San Andreas actually had things sprinkled throughout the map to make it feel like an environment with life. You could go to clubs and dance, eat at a fast food restaurant, go to a strip club, compete in races, go to the casino, bet on horse races. You could even go to a bar and play pool or the arcade machines. And hey, if you lost your bets, then make sure they don't live long enough to spend a dime of that money. It provided a lot of variety to the game that allowed some downtime between missions. These three cities also provided much needed diversity for the map, allowing each city to have its own feel and atmosphere. Los Santos is gang-ridden and rugged, while San Fierro is more dense and focused, and Las Venturas with a more open and energetic feel to it. So before I replayed San Andreas, I played Vice City just for a little bit to see how much of a difference the gameplay felt, and man does it feel so much smoother in San Andreas. For starters, you can actually move the camera around when in a vehicle, and that matters so much when taking turns at high speeds. The gameplay is very straightforward. You aim, shoot, switch between targets, and free aim if needed. There is also this RPG element that allows you to increase stats for many things in the game, primarily one of them being weapons. The more you increase your stats and the weapons you use allows you more ways to use said weapon. Stealth was also added for some missions that needed you to be silent, so here you can find different ways of taking out enemies, either with a knife or a silenced pistol when acquired. Stats for the way your character's health is also utilized. There are gyms that you can use to increase your strength and stamina. You can train yourself to run longer and learn different fighting styles depending on which city you were in. Eating actually mattered and provided an incentive to actually use this feature in the game, because if you actually had some fat in you, then your body would eat away at that over time instead of decreasing your muscle if you were hungry. When seeing and playing this game compared to Vice City, it's just insane how much of a jump in gameplay quality there is. The driving in this game is fine, but not all too great. I do love the sense of speed you have when the game starts to have a motion blur effect when you pick up a lot of speed on the road or in a plane. The cars just feel way too light sometimes and just feel so fragile. I get the goal in the game, and more so in life, is to not damage your car at all, but San Andreas takes no time to make your car look like trash and blow up from getting into minor crashes in the game, and feel like they're about to flip or spin out at any given moment. There's also a new feature that allows you to customize your ride and add nitrous oxide. I like this because it was cool at the time when this game came out, but feels so pointless and a waste of money to do so, because while you can do street races, you are only going to be allowed to use the car or bike it provides you, at least from the races I have done so far in the game. As the car you use in a mission will very likely disappear after you complete it, so why bother getting attached to any one car or bike? Towards the beginning of the game, there is a time when you get to own territory throughout Los Santos from rival gangs. Once you go through a couple waves of enemies, you can own that part of the territory and gain money over time from how much territory you acquire. Now, this would be fine if they didn't have it where your territory could be taken back. So sometimes you are being told to fight for it, but this is just time I don't have driving all the way back to Los Santos just to fight for a few seconds. However, do understand that you will need to own at least 35% of them to be able to unlock the last mission of the game. Acquiring money could be done in a bunch of ways throughout the game, primarily beating missions. But if you need extra cash to be able to get more guns and ammo, then there are odd jobs you can do, such as taxi fares, bringing people to hospitals, or killing bad guys as a vigilante. You can also bet money at casinos by playing poker, blackjack, etc. You can even take your ride and do stunt jumps that give you money for how crazy the attempt was. Now, the way the buttons are mapped out for Xbox and PlayStation 2 are fine, but I was happy that I was able to bind my own controls on PC so that way I can play on my own way. However, the PC version was never given the actual buttons on the prompts in the game. So when I was told to press Joy 2, I don't know what the fuck you are talking about. Thankfully, there are mods to fix this, but why was this ever a thing? There are also plenty of places to visit that provide you different ways to get your character to look. Being able to customize your character's look is always a plus for me, so I found this to be a great addition to GTA at the time. Graphically, the game is obviously outdated, but the game's graphics are a part of its charm for this era, so I still enjoy it for its time. The soundtrack is pretty damn good too, with various different radio stations to choose from, my favorite being Radio Los Santos. But being on PC provides the option to include your own music, which I will always choose over any radio station. I also do like, depending on the vehicle you ride, the quality of the audio for the radio changes. That provides a nice immersion feel to it.
It's OG Loke in the place. You don't want to stop me with a gun in your face. Yeah, man. Let's shut the fuck up.
The story is about Carl Johnson, who comes back from being away from home after 5 years being in Liberty City. You are immediately introduced to the villain of the game in the form of a crooked police officer, Tenpenny, voiced by the talented Samuel L. Jackson. Essentially, the story about CJ coming back to San Andreas is to find out who killed your mother. You are accompanied by characters such as your brother Sweet, your sister Kendall, and her boyfriend Caesar, also with classic characters such as Big Smoke and Ryder.
Let's go, bitch.
I put in about roughly over 24 hours of gameplay to beat it, and the story is okay. I remember beating this game one time a long time ago, and this was a much needed refresher. I do like playing the missions you are put through, and they are fun, and the eccentric characters you meet along the way are awesome. However, for me, it just felt like the main plot of the story was veering away from the overall reason why CJ came back to Los Santos to begin with. Some character arcs are ended very abruptly with no real conclusion or satisfying end to their stories and arcs. And some of the characters' motivations just feel very weak to the extent of them just doing the things that they were doing because of money and power. I don't know, it just seems kind of cheap to me, and the payoff felt a little melodramatic. Like, okay, he was killed and taken care of, time to move on. Like, I wish there was more to it than that. And Sweet is a punk ass bitch. All this man wants to do is stay in the hood and tell CJ that he is a fool for wanting to move on and get out of the hood for the sake of being better than that, which is awesome, but Sweet is stuck in that mindset and actually convinces CJ in a way of what he is telling him is right. Like, are you kidding me? This isn't a fault to Rockstar at all, or their storytelling capabilities. Just story-wise, it just makes Sweet to look like an idiot. But maybe that was the whole point to begin with, but it just upsets me that CJ just goes along with it. At least that's how it felt. But besides that, I still had a fun time playing the main story, but I definitely enjoyed other story modes from GTA. The voice acting was top notch in this one as well, and Rockstar will always find a way to make you laugh.
I'm blind.
No shit.
So in conclusion, I felt that playing throughout San Andreas was a fun time, and it's surely a game that every gamer should have in their collection and have at least played once. It definitely has made a mark in video game history and will be one of the best video games ever made, especially for its time in the 6th generation.
Hey, wait a minute, bitch.
I haven't put too much time into the remaster yet, but once I review Vice City and GTA 3 is when I'll actually get around to doing it in the future. Guys, my name is Pedro Ordonez, also known as GL7. Please subscribe, comment, like, thumbs up. Do whatever you guys can to support this channel. Check out the Patreon if you like to support me even further through there. And also check out the Discord where we are trying to get more and more people involved in talking about video games and sharing your favorite content. I do also want to thank you again from the bottom of my heart to all of my subscribers for sticking around for the small hiatus I took from making videos. But I am back in full throttle and can't wait to show you guys more things that are soon to come. Let me know what you guys would like to see me review next time in the future, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.